Is the Taylormade MG4 the best wedge released in 2023? Well, the early consensus online and on tour is a resounding yes, but I wanted to find out for myself. So I'm gonna put these wedges through the ringer to find out just how good they really are. So when I test a wedge to potentially put it in my bag, there's a few things I'm paying attention to. First and foremost, the look, feel, the numbers, how it plays. But the look, I mean, if you don't like how it looks, you're not gonna wanna play it, especially a wedge. Like, that's a scoring club. That's something that you want to have confidence looking down at when you're trying to hit it close from the fairway, make a birdie, or you're short-sided, or you want to get up and down. Like, the wedges are so important. If you don't like the look of them, they're not going to allow you to perform and play your best. I love the look of TaylorMade wedges. I've been using them since 2012, so every evolution and iteration of them I've enjoyed, and they've, like, the subtle changes they've made have been very appealing to my eyes. These are no different. These are 5 out of 5. They're so good. There's some subtle changes from the MG3. The MG3 had a slightly straighter leading edge. They say this one has a little bit more curve, a little bit more heel, toe relief. I don't really see it, so it's so subtle that it's not off-putting where you're looking down, and I don't like a curved leading edge, a rounded leading edge, so it's not something that I'm like, ooh, wow, don't like that. Top line on the MG4, a wee bit rounder and thicker, but again, it's not so noticeable that it looks kind of chunky. Face on the MG4s definitely look a little bit more in line kind of with like the P790s. Compared to last year, I shouldn't say last year, a couple years ago the MG3 was released. There's just a little bit more smooth. You kind of see a bit more definition of this little flange, but it also could be because these are a couple years old, so the metal softened, it's worn a little bit. They just look really good face on. They look good in the bag. They look good at address, closing it down, opening it up. Everything about them, the look is perfect to me. One thing that you don't really look at is the shaft, unless you get like a blacked out or a C-taper where it's subtly different. I've used KBS Tour shafts for a decade in my wedges, and looking down at a steel shaft is looking down at a steel shaft. But these ones, I put a different shaft in them. I put the Dynamic Gold Tour Issue X100 just because I was curious. I wanted to see what these did for me, if they allowed me to control it better, if they gave me better launch numbers, better spin numbers. So it's not a look thing, it's a change in the club. So let's move all this aside and just see what kind of numbers I get with these wedges. Typically when I give you the numbers of what my wedge testing is like, it's just some B-roll of me doing the testing, telling you about the testing. This time around, I'm gonna condense it a little bit, but do it more of a live testing. Starting with the 60 degree, when I test a wedge, I wanna hit a 90-yard 60-degree shot. So kind of like a 3/4 flighted wedge, and I really wanna make sure it's not launching too high or spinning too much. So that first one is pretty much exactly what I'm looking for. Carry 91 yards, spin right around 1,000. I could go for a little bit less spin, but I don't mind. Launch 29. So if I'm launching it between 28, 29, maybe 30 degrees, I'm okay. Descent, it's landing a little bit low. Maybe we get a degree more peak height. That's good. So these numbers are all quite nice. I struck that thing pretty well. Let's see what we get on a second go around. I feel like that might launch a little bit higher. 29.5, spin up a couple hundred. That's okay. A little bit more on the heel side of impact. Everything's pretty good there. I'll take that. That is a-okay. So a little bit more of a draw. Yeah, I kind of launch is okay. Spin comes down a little bit. Carried a little bit further. Got a little bit more active at impact with my hands, but I'll take it. 92.8, launch 29, spin is a bit up. I felt that one maybe go a little bit higher. Peak height, yeah, you see the peak height considerably higher there. Numbers are good. Let's go to the 56. So at the 56 degree, I look at like 105 yard. That's my like flighted tight 3/4. I want to feel like I'm hitting kind of a low draw, coming a little bit from the inside. So again, I'm looking for the launch staying low enough, the spin not ballooning, and the height not ballooning, but still getting enough angle of descent. So hit it a little on the heel side of center. Launch is good, 28.7. Spin, I like that spin a lot. Angle of descent vertical, great. Height, a little bit higher. Obviously it's flying a little bit further than the log wedge. That height's not too bad, so Okay. So I was a little bit late on that one. Yeah, 99, so kind of a little bit open there, a little bit thin, and landing lower, height not as much, obviously carries down, spins down, because I caught it a little bit thin. See, I feel like that launched a little bit higher. Yeah, 30, 100, spin was up, descent, see it just got higher. So that's my risk, that's what I fight against with wedges, is launching a little bit too high, and if the spin is too much, that can be something that just falls out of the sky and it's just harder to control. So that's my little bit of worry that I'm experiencing with this shaft. Launch came down, descent's really good. Like that one's really good. A little bit on the heel side of center. My strike's not amazing at the minute, but the numbers are good. The launch with the sand wedge though can get a little bit high, spin gets high, so that's something I gotta pay attention to if I'm gonna take these and put these on the golf course. 52, that tight little 3/4 is about a 120-yard shot for me in here. Out on the golf course, I could probably get a 52, stock maybe closer to 130, but again, that could risk some ballooning, some spin. So I wanna hit something 120, but I've seen with some wedges in the past, I still wanna make sure I have enough spin because I've had some where the spin comes down too much. So it's like, you want to be able to do what you want to do in terms of path, face, and height, but not, oh, if the face is a little open, the spin goes through the roof, or if the face is a hair closed, the spin comes way down, and then it becomes really hard to control. So 120 yards, kind of a tight 3/4. Let's see what height, launch, and spin we get. Launch is good, spin is good, maybe a little bit high. Height's good, descent's great. So that one, again, I'm just catching everything a little bit off the heel. 120.4, oh, that launch is so good. That spin is really good. That descent is really good. That height is good. 116, launch is still good. See, I like that spin a little bit down. A flighted draw, descent's great, height's a bit high. Not bad, not bad. I would say the numbers aren't perfect, but they're good. They're very good and they're very playable. So the numbers are okay. They're not perfect for me. This shaft might not be the best wedge shaft for me, but let's take it out on the golf course, let's get around the greens, and let's really see what I can do with these things. Because if I can do everything I want with them with less than perfect numbers, they're still probably a great wedge for my bag. So I've played one round with these. It was a scramble on the Furyk & Friends Pro-Am, so I actually got to hit a lot of 1/2 and 3/4 lob wedges, but nothing around the green. So the playability on the course so far, I'm enjoying. What are they like around the greens? They've done some tweaks to these, and I just want to put them through the ringer here and see what they can do around the greens. Oh, chipped in my very first one, that's good. So I like to just test all the wedges, high, low, mid, as many shots as I can with each club to get a good feel for what they will do on the golf course. Having played the MG3s and before that MG2s and MG1s, there's not a big difference to me feel-wise with this turf interaction. All right, let's get in the bunker. Definitely get some spin on it. A little bit different than the Tiger grind, which I've used for the last couple years, but it's still reacting really well with the sand. And the way that I play, I'm not really a high spin bunker player. I like to imagine it, kind of something I heard Sevi say years and years ago, or reiterated from Sevi. I want my bunker shots to kind of land and roll like a putt. So they're still doing that. They're doing everything I'm used to a Taylormade wedge to do out of the bunker. And this is a tricky ass shot we gave ourselves. But then they do stop pretty quick if I need to spin it. But let's make it a little bit easier uphill lie. Lands really soft. they passed the bunker test. So this is a fun shot I like to test my short game with a lot, but obviously a new club, definitely. Like a 30-ish yard pitch, little uphill, little into the grain, a little bit into the grain here. Could get a little steep and not hit it great, so it's like you want to make sure your contact's good, but you want to make sure when it gets up there, it's landing fast, it's landing aggressively, because this is typically the third shot on a par 5, or you're a bit out of position on a par 4. You want to get up and down for birdie, or give yourself the best chance to make your birdie, or the best chance to make your par. Like that's perfect. A little bit mid-height, ball back in the stance. I like that. A little bit heavy there, so I get a little bit more release. But what I'm looking for is, okay, so that one there where I didn't quite execute, is the bounce in this head helping me? And I'm used to the Tiger grind. This is very similar, but right there was enough relief, enough bounce that even though I got a little bit steep, stuck it in, it just didn't go. Just hammer it. Right idea, just a little hard. So again, this is just another one of the little tests that I want. I'm very used to these wedges, and they're doing exactly what I want and what I expect. A little aggressive, but that's good. That's good. The turf interaction I like. Tap in birdies, tap in pars. It's pretty good. So my verdict, I mean, I love them. You kind of could tell. They look amazing to my eye. They perform exactly how I want them to perform out on the golf course around the greens. The shaft isn't my shaft though. The numbers just aren't exactly what I want. I probably need to switch this shaft out if I'm gonna keep these in the bag, just so I can get slightly better and slightly more predictable launch and spin conditions. But to the question I asked, are these the best wedges of 2023? I've reviewed 5 different sets of wedges, so I haven't reviewed every wedge that was made, but unequivocally, I would say yes, these are the best wedges that were released in 2023.